I will bet you $1,000 right now that I can tell you exactly how much money you will have in 30 years based on 3 numbers, and I will be right within 5% accuracy. Not a guess, not a prediction, but a mathematical certainty. Your current savings, your monthly investment amount, and your average return rate. Give me those 3 numbers, and I will show you your financial future with the same precision that I used to build $28 billion over 3 decades. I am James Simons. I am 86 years old. I spent 50 years doing mathematics, and the last 30 years proving that money is not emotional. It is not mystical. It is not about gut feelings or market timing or finding the next Apple stock. Money is pure mathematics. And the reason 99% of people lose money or stay broke is not because they do not work hard enough. It is because they are fighting against mathematical laws that always win. They want to be right about their feelings, their predictions, their hunches. I wanted to be rich by respecting what numbers actually do over time. For 30 consecutive years, my fund returned an average of 39% annually, while the so-called experts barely scratched 10%. And we never had a single losing year. Not one. The difference between me and everyone else was not intelligence. It was not connections. It was not luck for 3 decades straight. The difference was I stopped trying to be right and started trying to be mathematical. And today, I am going to show you the exact error that keeps 99% of people poor. The error that costs the average American approximately $2.7 million over their lifetime. And it is so simple, so obvious once you see it, that you will be angry no one told you this 20 years ago. This is not about working harder. This is not about taking bigger risks. This is not about finding secret investments. This is about understanding one mathematical principle that turns $1,000 a month into inevitable wealth, while everyone else is out there guessing, hoping, and losing. Let me show you what the numbers actually say. And I promise you, by the end of this, you will never think about money the same way again. The error I am talking about has a name in mathematics. It is called optimizing for short-term variance instead of long-term expectancy. In plain English, it means people make decisions based on what feels right today instead of what is mathematically certain over time. Let me give you a perfect example. 2 people, same age, both 30 years old, both making $70,000 a year in Austin, Texas. Both start investing at the same time. Person A reads the news every morning, watches CNBC, tries to time the market. When things look scary, when there is a recession, when the talking heads say to pull out, Person A pulls out and sits in cash until things feel safe again. When the market is up and everyone is excited, Person A jumps back in. This feels smart. This feels like being careful. This feels like protecting your money. Person B does not watch the news. Person B sets up an automatic transfer of $1,000 per month into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund and never touches it. Recession? Money goes in. Market crash? Money goes in. Boom times? Money goes in. Person B is not smarter, not braver, just more mathematical. 30 years later, Person A has approximately $900,000. Not bad, right? Except Person B has $2.3 million, same starting salary, same monthly investment amount, same time period. Person B has $1.4 million more. Why? Because Person A was trying to be right about market timing, and Person B was trying to be mathematical about compound growth. Person A missed the 10 best days in the market over those 30 years because they were sitting in cash, waiting for things to feel safe. Those 10 days, just 10 trading days out of more than 7,500 trading days, cost them $1.4 million. That is the error. That is what 99% of people do. They optimize for feeling right instead of being mathematically consistent. Now let me show you what this looks like in pure numbers because I want you to see the mathematics with total clarity. If you invest $1,000 per month for 30 years at an average return of 10%, which is what the S&P 500 has returned over the past 100 years, you will have $2.3 million. That is not my opinion. That is the compound interest formula. The calculation is this. You invest $12,000 per year for 30 years, which is $360,000 of your own money. But compound growth turns that $360,000 into $2.3 million. You put in $360,000, you get out $2.3 million. That is $1.94 million of free money created purely by mathematics. Not by working harder, not by picking stocks, not by timing anything, just by respecting exponential growth. Now watch what happens when you try to be smart and time the market. Let us say you are person A. You do everything the same, except you miss the 10 best trading days over 30 years because you were sitting in cash during market volatility. Missing just those 10 days drops your return from 10% annually to 7.2% annually. Sounds close, right? Wrong. At 7.2% over 30 years with the same $1,000 per month, you end up with $1.5 million instead of $2.3 million. You lost $800,000 by missing 10 days. 10 days out of 10,950 days. That is 0.09% of days. Being wrong 0.09% of the time cost you $800,000. That is the mathematical cost of trying to feel right instead of being consistent. But it gets worse. What if you miss the 20 best days? Now you are down to 4.3% return. Same $1,000 per month for 30 years. At 4.3% gives you $900,000. You just lost $1.4 million by being out of the market for 20 days over 30 years. And here is the part that will make you angry. Statistically, the best trading days happen during the worst market conditions. They happen right after crashes, right in the middle of recessions, exactly when it feels most dangerous to be invested. So the very act of trying to protect yourself by pulling out when things feel scary is mathematically guaranteed to make you miss the days that create the most wealth. If you want to think mathematically about money instead of emotionally, if you want to see what 99% of people cannot see because they are too busy feeling their way through financial decisions, you need to subscribe to this channel right now. What I am about to show you is not motivational content. It is not inspirational stories. It is not someone telling you that you can do it if you just believe in yourself. This is pure applied mathematics for wealth building. I am going to show you the numbers that Wall Street does not want you to see. Because when you see them, you stop needing Wall Street. You stop needing advisors who charge you 2% to guess wrong. You stop needing gurus who sell you courses on how to pick the next Tesla. You just need mathematics and discipline. Most people prefer to be sold dreams. You prefer to see equations that actually work? Hit subscribe right now. So that is the error. Trying to be right instead of being mathematical. Optimizing for how decisions feel instead of what they mathematically produce over time. And this error shows up everywhere, not just in market timing. It shows up in every single financial decision most people make. Let me show you 4 specific applications of this mathematical principle. 4 places where the 99% are making the same error over and over, losing millions of dollars cumulatively. And they have no idea because it feels like they are being smart. These are not theories. These are not my opinions. These are mathematical facts that I used to build Renaissance technologies, and the Medallion Fund into the most successful quantitative hedge fund in human history. 4 applications, same core error, same massive cost. Let me walk you through each one with the actual numbers so you can see exactly what this error is costing you. Application number 1. Buying individual stocks instead of index funds because it feels smarter. Here is what people do. They read about companies, they do research, they feel informed, they buy stocks they believe in. Apple because they love the iPhone. Tesla because they believe in Elon. Netflix because they watch it every day. This feels intelligent. This feels like you are taking control. And sometimes you are right. You buy Apple in 2010 and it goes up 10 times and you feel like a genius. But here is the mathematics. The average individual stock picker underperforms the S&P 500 by approximately 3% per year after fees and taxes. 3% does not sound like much, but over 30 years, that 3% difference is catastrophic. Let me show you. Person A picks individual stocks. They are good at it, better than average. They get 7% annual returns over 30 years. They invest $1,000 per month. After 30 years, they have $1.2 million. Not bad. Person B is boring. They buy a Vanguard S&P 500 index fund. Set it to automatic. Never look at it? They get 10% annually. After 30 years, they have $2.3 million. Person B has $1.1 million more than Person A, despite doing less work, less research, less thinking. Why? Because Person A was trying to feel smart and be right about individual companies. Person B was being mathematical about diversification and cost efficiency. And here is the thing. Person A, in my example, was better than average. Most individual stock pickers get 5% or less after fees and trading costs. At 5% over 30 years with $1,000 per month, you end up with $800,000. You just lost $1.5 million trying to feel smarter than the market. The mathematics say you cannot beat the market consistently, so stop trying and capture the market return with the lowest cost method. But 99% of people cannot accept this because it does not feel satisfying. It does not give you a story to tell at parties. It does not make you feel like you have secret knowledge. It just makes you rich. Application number 2. Paying off your mortgage early instead of investing the difference because it feels safe. This is one of the most expensive emotional decisions people make, and they make it because it feels responsible. Here is the setup. You buy a house for $500,000 in Seattle with 20% down. You take out a $400,000 mortgage at 7% interest for 30 years. Your monthly payment is $2,657. Now you get a raise, or you cut expenses, and suddenly you have an extra $1,000 per month. What do? Most people think, I should pay down my mortgage faster. Get rid of this debt. Own my home free and clear. This feels safe, feels smart, feels like the responsible adult thing to do. So they pay an extra $1,000 per month toward principal. By doing this, they pay off their 30-year mortgage in 17 years instead of 30 years. They save $190,000 in interest. They high-five themselves. They own their home. Feels amazing. But watch what happens with the mathematics. Person B takes that same extra $1,000 per month and invests it in an index fund at 10% return. After 17 years, when Person A finishes paying off the house, Person B has $600,000 invested. But Person B still has a mortgage, so let us keep going. For the next 13 years, Person A finally starts investing that $2,657 per month that they were putting toward the mortgage. At 10% return for 13 years, that grows to $750,000. So person A ends up with $750,000 invested plus a paid-off house. Person B kept investing $1,000 per month for all 30 years. At 10%, that is $2.3 million. Plus, person B kept making the regular mortgage payment of $2,657. So after 17 years, when they had $600,000 invested, they kept investing $1,000 per month for 13 more years. That adds another $300,000. Total, $2.6 million invested. But they still have a mortgage balance. Let us say they kept the mortgage the whole time and made only regular payments. They still owe around $200,000. So net worth, $2.4 million invested minus $200,000 owed equals $2.2 million. Person A has $750,000. Person B has $2.2 million. By trying to feel safe and debt-free, Person A lost $1.45 million. The mathematics are clear. If your investment return is higher than your mortgage interest rate, and historically it is by about 3 percentage points, you should invest extra money, not pay down the mortgage. But this feels wrong. It feels risky. It feels irresponsible. So 99% of people do the emotionally satisfying thing and lose over $1 million doing it. Application number 3. Keeping money in savings accounts because it feels secure instead of invested because markets feel risky. This is the most common error I see, and it is pure mathematical self-destruction. Person A keeps a 6-month emergency fund, which is smart, but then they keep another $50,000 in a high-yield savings account, earning 4% because it feels safe and liquid. They think, what if I need it? What if the market crashes? What if something happens? This feeling of security costs them everything. Let me show you the 30-year math. $50,000 in savings at 4% for 30 years grows to $160,000. Feels pretty good, right? Your money tripled. Except person B put that same $50,000 in an index fund at 10% for 30 years. It grows to $870,000. Person A has $160,000. Person B has $870,000. The difference is $710,000. By keeping money in savings to feel secure, Person A lost $710,000 of growth. And this is not even counting the fact that at 4% you are barely beating inflation, which averages 3%. So your real return is maybe 1%. You are not growing wealth, you are just barely maintaining purchasing power. Meanwhile, the stock market, over any 30-year period in American history, has never had negative inflation-adjusted returns. Never. Not once. The risk you think you are avoiding by staying in savings is a mathematical illusion. The real risk is opportunity cost, and that cost is $710,000 in this example. But here is what people say. What if I invest and the market crashes the next day? Great question. Let us do the math. You invest $50,000 today. Tomorrow, the market crashes 30%. You are down to $35,000. Feels terrible. You panic. But if you do nothing and just wait, historically the market recovers within 3 to 5 years. So in 5 years, you are back to $50,000. Then you continue getting 10% annually for the remaining 25 years. That $50,000 becomes $540,000. Even with a crash the day after you invest, you still end up with $540,000 instead of $160,000 in savings. The crash cost you some time, but you still come out $380,000 ahead. The mathematics do not care about your feelings. They just compound. But 99% of people cannot handle the emotional discomfort of seeing their money go down temporarily. So they choose permanent mathematical underperformance to avoid temporary emotional discomfort. Now, I want to do something a little different. I am mapping a theory I have about the geographic distribution of people who think mathematically versus people who think emotionally about money. My hypothesis is that people who prefer data over feelings are not evenly distributed. They cluster in certain areas, certain cultures, certain communities. So I want to test this. Where are you watching this from? Drop your city and state in the comments below. If you are outside the United States, drop your country. I am genuinely curious to see if the people who made it this far into a video about compound interest mathematics cluster in tech hubs, college towns, financial centers, or if they are randomly distributed. This is not just curiosity, this is data collection. I built $28 billion by understanding patterns in data that other people could not see. I want to see if there is a geographic pattern to financial rationality. Are you in San Francisco or Austin, where tech thinking dominates? Are you in New York, where finance is everywhere? Are you in a small town in the Midwest where no one talks about this stuff? Drop your location below. Let us build a data set. Let me see if my hypothesis is correct. Application number 4. Trying to time your retirement contributions based on market conditions instead of contributing consistently regardless of conditions. This is another version of the same error, but it shows up in a specific place. Retirement accounts. Here is what people do. They have a 401k at work. When the market is doing well and they feel optimistic, they contribute the maximum. When there is a recession or the market drops, they get scared and reduce contributions or stop altogether, thinking they will wait until things stabilize. This feels smart. Why invest when things are going down? Wait for the bottom, then invest. The problem is, mathematically, this is backwards. Let me show you. Person A contributes to their 401k inconsistently based on how they feel about the market. Some years they max it out at $2,000 per month. Other years they drop to $500 per month when they are scared. On average, over 30 years, they contribute $1,000 per month, but the timing is all wrong. They contribute more when prices are high and less when prices are low. Person B contributes exactly $1,000 per month, no matter what. Market up, down, crashing, booming, does not matter. $1,000 every single month like clockwork. Who wins? Person B destroys Person A, and here is why. When you invest a fixed amount every month, you automatically buy more shares when prices are low and fewer shares when prices are high. This is called dollar cost averaging, and it is mathematically optimal for long-term wealth building. When the market drops 30%, your $1,000 buys 30% more shares. When the market is expensive, you buy fewer shares. Over time, this averages out your cost basis and maximizes your total shares owned. Person A, by reducing contributions when the market is down, does the opposite. They buy fewer shares when shares are cheap, and more shares when shares are expensive. They are mathematically guaranteed to underperform. Let me quantify this. Person B, contributing $1,000 per month consistently for 30 years at an average return of 10%, ends with $2.3 million. Person A, contributing inconsistently but averaging $1,000 per month, ends with $1.7 million because their timing was backwards. They lost $600,000 by trying to time their contributions. And this does not even account for the fact that many employers match contributions up to a certain amount. If your employer matches 50% up to 6% of salary, and you reduce contributions during downturns, you are also losing free money from your employer. The mathematics are screaming at you. Contribute consistently, automatically, regardless of what the market is doing, especially when it is down. But 99% of people cannot do this because it feels wrong to invest when things look scary. Let me bring this all together now with the scientific principle underneath all 4 of these applications. The error that 99% of people make is what behavioral economists call present bias combined with loss aversion. In mathematical terms, people overweight short-term feelings and underweight long-term probabilities. They feel the pain of a market drop today more intensely than they imagine the gain of compound growth over 30 years. This is not a character flaw. This is human neurology. Your brain evolved to prioritize immediate threats over distant possibilities. If a lion is chasing you, thinking about your retirement account is not useful. But in modern financial decisions, this evolutionary wiring is killing you. The mathematics of wealth are exponential, but human perception is linear. You cannot feel exponential growth. When your investment goes from 100,000 to 110,000, it feels the same as when it goes from 1 million to 1,100,000. Both are 10%, but the second one created $100,000 of new wealth, while the first created 10,000. Exponential growth does not feel proportionally bigger as it gets bigger, so people do not appreciate it. They chase linear wins that feel good. Paying off debt, seeing a savings account grow, picking a stock that doubles. These feel like victories. Meanwhile, the boring, invisible, exponential compounding of a diversified index fund over 3 decades is creating millions of dollars, but it does not feel like anything special day to day. So people abandon it. They want to feel smart, feel safe, feel in control. The mathematics do not care about any of that. The mathematics say, invest consistently, diversify broadly, minimize costs, ignore short-term noise, let time do the work. That is it. That is the whole game. But 99% of people cannot do it because it does not feel like enough. Let me prove this with one final calculation that should make everything clear. Person A does what feels right their whole life. They try to time the market. They pick individual stocks because it feels smart. They pay off their mortgage early because it feels safe. They keep extra money in savings because it feels secure. They reduce retirement contributions during downturns because it feels careful. They work hard. They are not stupid. They are doing what everyone tells them is responsible. They earn $70,000 per year. They invest when they feel comfortable. And after 40 years of work, they retire with $800,000 saved. They sell their paid-off house for $600,000 and downsize, pocketing $300,000. Total net worth at retirement, $1.1 million. Not bad. They can probably retire on that if they are careful. Person B does what is mathematically optimal their whole life, even when it feels wrong. They invest $1,000 per month in a low-cost index fund automatically, no matter what the market does. They keep a 6-month emergency fund and invest everything else. They do not try to time anything. They do not pick stocks. They keep their mortgage and invest the difference. They contribute to their 401k at the maximum every year regardless of market conditions. They do nothing exciting, nothing that feels smart, nothing that gives them bragging rights. Same $70,000 per year salary. After 40 years, their index fund has grown to $3.8 million. They still have a mortgage on a house worth $600,000 with $200,000 left to pay. Net worth, $4.2 million. Person A has $1.1 million. Person B has $4.2 million. Same starting point, same time frame, same income. Person B has $3.1 million more. That is the mathematical cost of trying to feel right, instead of being mathematically consistent for 40 years. $3.1 million. And here is the part that should make you angry. Person B did less work. They did not research stocks, did not watch CNBC, did not time anything, did not stress about market crashes. They just set up automatic investments and lived their life. Person A worked harder, thought more about money, made more decisions, and ended up $3.1 million poorer. That is what I mean when I say people want to be right. They do not want to be rich. Being right feels good. Being rich requires ignoring your feelings and trusting mathematics. Now, here is the statistical reality. If I look at the data on investor behavior over the past 50 years, approximately 97% of people behave like person A. They try to time the market. They chase returns. They pick stocks. They pull money out during crashes. They make emotional decisions. And approximately 97% of them underperform a simple index fund over their lifetime. This is not my opinion. This is data from Morningstar, Dalbar, Vanguard, every major research firm that studies investor behavior. The average investor gets approximately 4% annual returns over their lifetime, while the market itself returns 10%. That 6% gap, maintained over 40 years, is the difference between 1.1 million and 4.2 million. It is the difference between barely making it in retirement and having generational wealth. And the cause of that gap is not lack of information. Everyone has access to the same information. The cause is psychological. People cannot override their emotional wiring. They cannot do what feels wrong even when the mathematics prove it is right. 3% of people can. Those 3% become wealthy. The 97% work their whole lives and retire with not enough. So here is my challenge to you, and I am framing this as a statistical experiment because that is how I think. If what I have shown you makes mathematical sense, if you can see the pattern, if you understand that optimizing for short-term feelings instead of long-term probabilities is the error that costs people millions, then you are potentially part of the 3%. But potential is not the same as action. Statistically, only 3 to 5% of people watching this video will hit the like button. Even fewer will subscribe. And almost none will actually change their behavior. So prove to me that you are in the statistical minority. Hit the like button right now, subscribe to this channel if you have not yet, and comment below with your city so I can map where the people who actually think mathematically are located. I want to see the data. I want to know if my hypothesis about geographic distribution of financial rationality is correct. And most importantly, I want to see if you are actually different from the 99% who watched this video, agreed with everything, and then went right back to making emotional financial decisions. The mathematics do not care about your intentions. They care about your actions. So let me see your action. Like, subscribe, comment your location. Let us build a data set of people who think differently. And if you do not do it, that is fine too. You will just be part of the 97%. And statistically, you will retire with 1.1 million instead of 4.2 million. Your choice. The mathematics already know which choice you will make.